This, in addition, is a secret about the cultivation that leads to the king level. For this, he turns to old Ranza and asks if he understood what he meant. At first, he understands, but the other approaches and asks him not to believe his lies. And it seems that our hero underestimated our old Hans, since the words he will be saying here were just coming out of Uncle Ayaking's mouth, and that it should be noted and that this is a cultivation of martial arts that cultivates the kingdom. So, he ends up saying that it was not that, but what is cultivated. It's the Tao heart. As long as you have a heart that seeks the Tao, have faith that you will be able to become a very strong person. However, our hero still hasn't cleared his mind, so he asks him to look at that mountain, and when he looks at that mountain, he reveals that it is an insurmountable difficulty and danger, and so they approach our hero and he comments that he understood everything, saying that each day when he wakes up and ends up saying to himself that one day he will be able to reach the king-level class. He will finally be able to reach that class. It doesn't matter how he gets there, but he will achieve it. Then he jumps forward near some rocks and then ends up understanding. Today, the principle of such a great thing is extremely simple. It was just necessary to use all his time to improve himself more and more. The two of them are extremely surprised to see that his understanding was quite high. Meanwhile, he turns around and calls for our Xiao Hong, since he will need Xiao Bai and Xiao Bai to awaken his second talent of the energy source. She then turns to him and reveals that she does not know how to do this, something she did not know before. But now she knows how to do it. Since first, she will need to use her mental powers to feel the changes in her body, an ability that can help others awaken their second talent of the energy source. For this, she says that she will try it for an hour. A little pink appears around her. At the same time, she opens her eyes, and then a rose comes into her hand, overflowing there. She becomes extremely happy with that. But before I can continue, I have a doubt. In some chapters, a certain guy appears who had the same ability as her, to evolve pets. Or could it be that this guy who evolves pets doesn't have the same power as her, since he could evolve some animals perhaps to a level a little higher than her? The doubt remains in the mind. Going back, she was happy with that. Since that was it, she turns to our Xiaobai and comments that he will be the first. She puts a pink hour in his direction. "This scares our turtle!" she screams. Minutes later, she begins to transform into her giant form. While transforming, we see there a glow appearing on her tail, and we see that its glow became stronger and stronger. But from her tail, something began to emerge, and our Xiaobai begins to roar. Behind also a mouth appeared and began to roar along with the other main part. After making his second evolution, the screen of this system appears for our protagonist, congratulating him for having managed to make his turtle successfully awaken the second elemental talent. He then turns to her and ends saying that it wasn't bad at all, since now she managed to make him awaken his water element, and the defensible power of the water system in the earth will be even more frightening. But what really scared Xiaobai was really that second tail that appeared. Now that it ended there with Xiaobai, he was next, and our next one was our Xiaobai, so our Xiaobai tried to escape. Because that scared him a little, he was going to escape, but the little girl was faster. Since if Xiaobai wants to awaken, he has to hold on a little longer there. Xiaobai ends up roaring and ends up transforming into his giant form. Some marks start to appear on his body, and a slightly dark aura emerges from him. And after that, the system congratulates our protagonist for having managed to make his animal surpass the second level. Now, achieving a second element, source of the shadow, he jumped with happiness to see that Xiaobai awakened a second element of the shadow. He hugs his pet and realizes that now he has become extremely powerful. He is afraid of scaring the people there with his new, extremely powerful animal. She laughs at this. So day 2 ends up arriving. After resting all night, they should be going to the Zansu swamp. His group already knew something that our protagonist had already gotten lost again. She ends up revealing that they are about 80 kilometers from the center of the forbidden zone of the Zansu swamp. And in any case, they should hurry and continue a journey in that direction. They should not be late, since they should arrive outside the Zansu swamp in the next few days. And by the way, he turns to our Xiao Hong and ends up wondering what that dragon was that was chasing them. She reveals that it is the Azuri dragon, which is a forbidden guard of the Zansu swamp. She also reveals that the strength of this Azuri dragon is extremely powerful, but all living beings that approach the central area are massacred by it. This Azuri dragon was undoubtedly very scary. She also reveals that in the past, there were some leader-level people who ended up mistakenly entering its territory, but none of them managed to get out of there. Leader-level people were eaten by it. This was terrible since there was an Azuri dragon around here. Why did the king of the 9 kings of the 9 yen not see any way to subdue it? So she reveals that at that time, the king of the 9 yen gathered the elders of the 3 largest families, but none of them were able to subdue the Azuri dragon, scaring the people. Even if one person be in the kingdom, Dyer was unable to subdue a monster like this, so he realizes that if this continues like this would become very dangerous. Before he can continue, he calls the system and asks it to investigate a little the lineage of the Azuri dragon, since today our protagonist will be trying to subdue this Azuri dragon for them. Since we encountered the Azuri dragon before, this may not reunite the 4 divine beasts. The system detects a lineage of the Azuri dragon nearby and the purity of the lineage. It is extremely high, and the monster's strength has already reached the half-king level, and he is already in a state of madness. And the danger was extreme. The host's current strength was very low. To subdue a monster like that, the system of the best option goes back. The protagonist, upon hearing the system, concludes that the best thing to do is to get out of there as quickly as possible, since the situation is very dangerous. Debating the best way to escape, the group reaches a consensus on the urgency of leaving the area, since the local dragon is very strong. The big guy then addresses the little girl, asking if she knows any escape route to escape that dense forest. The little girl reveals that she doesn't know the way, since the routes are constantly changing due to the climate changes in the region. The guy with glasses comes up with a possible solution, indicating a direction based on his knowledge of the place where they are. This big guy disagrees with the suggestion, since there is no way to determine the east, making the route unfeasible and increasing the confusion of the group. Faced with the impasse, one of the members suggests following the sun as a guide to find the exit of the forest and escape the danger. The big guy vetoes the idea, warning that the sun there is not reliable and would only cause even more confusion for the group. Suddenly, the little girl has a light and mentions knowing a tribe that lives nearby, which could be a solution. So, she suggests that they go to the tribe to ask for help to escape from that place and return home safely. Excited by the news, the protagonist praises the little girl's idea, asking why she didn't mention it before. The protagonist shows confidence in the little girl and asks them to head towards the tribe as quickly as possible. The little girl then reveals the name of the tribe, Spirit Snake Tribe, a somewhat peculiar name. The girl also adds that this tribe is the closest to the swamp, within a radius of 1,000 miles, a relief for the group. Agreeing with the suggestion, the protagonist asks the little girl to guide the group to the tribe's location. Thus, the group begins their journey towards the Spirit Snake Tribe, seeking help to free themselves from that situation. The narrator informs that the tribe once had powerful members, but that they went to war in search of new challenges. Currently, only the oldest and weakest remain, led by an experienced and wise elder. Getting closer, the little girl points out the place, indicating that this is the final destination of the journey. Finally, the group arrives at the Snake Tribe, an exotic-looking place mysterious. The guy with glasses comments on the large number of tribe members, despite their size. He estimates that there are more than 10,000 snakes in the place, based on the size and energy felt. Given the number of opponents, the big guy considers how to defeat them if a fight is inevitable. The big guy suggests luring the soldiers out and ambushing them little by little, dividing the enemy forces. The guy with glasses thinks the idea is risky and prefers to capture a leader to obtain valuable information. The protagonist criticizes the bloodlust of the two and their crazy ideas, seeking a peaceful solution. Soon, he remembers that the little girl is a royal saint, which could be the key to resolving the situation without violence. The guy with glasses questions whether the protagonist has any plan in mind to avoid a direct confrontation. The protagonist reveals that he has an infallible plan, relying on the influence and status of the little girl to achieve his goals. Suddenly, 2 giant snakes appear, summoning the residents to welcome the illustrious visitors. The little girl steps forward, revealing her identity and demonstrating her status to the tribe. The snakes are surprised by the revelation, recognizing her as a member of the ancient race of fairies. The snakes wonder why such an important person would visit a place like that. In addition, they notice the presence of important figures behind the little girl, increasing the tension in the air. One of the snakes introduces himself as an elder of the tribe and bows as a sign of respect and reverence. The snake apologizes for his initial rudeness and invites the group in, offering his hospitality. The protagonist introduces himself as a supporter of the front line, seeking resources to help in the war. He asks for medicinal herbs to recover his energy and continue the journey, showing his intentions. The other 2 are confused by the request, since the objective was to obtain information about the direction. The protagonist tells the 2 to be quiet and trust his plan, demonstrating his leadership. The snake feels honored by the visit and promises to offer the best possible treatment to the guests. So the snake leaves to begin the preparations and ensure a pleasant stay. Soon, the snake returns with medicinal fruits, offering them as a welcome gift to the visitors. The guy with glasses notes that the fruits are rare and have pure energy, demonstrating his knowledge. Another guy comments that a single fruit is capable of recovering all of a warrior's energy, impressed by its power. Satisfied with the reception, the protagonist says that they did well and that they can rest there that night. Shortly after, the protagonist indicates the place where he wants to stay and asks for a detailed map from the region. The guy with glasses finds the attitude strange, asking if it isn't too early to sleep, showing his distrust. The snake explains that the requested room belongs to the boss, and that no one can enter without his permission. Ignoring the explanation, the protagonist demands that they prepare an even larger room to accommodate him. The snake is apprehensive and asks him not to do anything that will irritate her, fearing the consequences. The protagonist questions whether the saint is not more important than their boss, increasing the pressure. The snake despairs and begins to tremble upon hearing the protagonist's words, feeling the weight of the situation. Frightened, the snake tries to explain itself and apologizes for what happened, seeking to avoid a conflict. Seeing the snake's despair, the little one takes pity and tries to calm things down, seeking a peaceful solution. The little one then manifests an aura of fire to demonstrate her power and authority, showing who is in charge there. The snake is frightened by the saint's power and promises to do everything they ask, seeking to please her and avoid problems. To reassure the snake, the protagonist says that they only intend to sleep there, seeking to calm their nerves. Then the protagonist asks for the map of the region to be brought, and the snake promptly complies with the request. Having received the map, the protagonist gives it to him, analyzes, looking for clues and information relevant to their journey. Meanwhile, the other two are excited about the prospect of stealing treasures, thinking about the riches they can find. The protagonist asks for calm and tells them to wait for the map first, trying to stay focused on the main objective. One of the guys says he is tired and asks to drink water first, showing his need to rest. The snake finally arrives with the map and gives it to the protagonist, fulfilling his promise. Analyzing the map, the protagonist realizes that there are no clues there, frustrating his expectations. The snake thinks they are too powerful to care about the tribe's assets, feeling insignificant. Then, the snake asks if they need anything else, and offers to help with whatever is necessary. The protagonist dismisses the snake and asks it not to bother them, seeking privacy and freedom. Soon after, the protagonist closes the door, preventing any interruptions and ensuring the group's tranquility. Without wasting time, the protagonist gives orders to search everything, showing his greed and determination. The protagonist orders them to search the first floor for treasures hidden, looking for riches and valuables. So he calls the little girl to search the second floor of the castle, trusting in her skills and intuition. The little girl is excited about the idea of looking for treasures and agrees to help, showing her enthusiasm. The other two are also happy and prepare to loot everything, eager to find valuable objects. One of the guys finds a jar of jade and is happy with the find, showing his satisfaction. The protagonist asks for silence and tells them not to draw their attention, fearing being discovered. The guy agrees and promises to make less noise, so as not to alert anyone, recognizing the danger. The little girl finds a box of medicinal fruits and warns the protagonist, sharing her discovery. The protagonist praises the little girl and asks her to look harder, encouraging the search for treasures. After all, he believes that there must be something else hidden inside, showing his ambition. In the end, they find lots of food and treasures to take on the adventure, ensuring provisions and resources. The protagonist then asks if everyone is ready to eat, inviting them to a banquet. The others respond excited and prepare for the banquet, eager to taste the delicacies. And so, they begin to eat everything they found with great joy and satisfaction, celebrating the success of the search. Our story continues in the same place after the party. They say that after the party, they need to find a way to escape from this place, since soon they will be gathering there, the people of that tribe of the spiritual serpent. They find a way to escape from here, especially because their upper silver level bottleneck is breaking. Now that they have eaten, they should be going to look at that map over there to be able to find a way to escape from here. So he approaches his group and asks him to let the gold levels, which are a little stronger, be taken care of by our protagonist and our old man Hu. However, the two agree to it, since they should be acting faster to escape from here. Our Xiao Han will have a main mission, to deal with the members of the silver-level spiritual serpent tribe. Hearing this, the girl then just agrees. After agreeing, we then go back a little outside the castle. On a dark night, we see everything calm, but we go back inside. Our hero laughed, but another one approached our hero, since one of his goals was to fight these snakes, and his powers were almost exploding from waiting here. which the other one ended up saying that old Han was just exploding his appetite for food. So he shouted, he asked the second elder to quickly gather all the beasts, all the ferocious beasts of the spiritual serpent tribe. And as soon as he spoke about this, we went back outside the castle. The serpent began to crawl. Soon after, he approached the great lord and ended up telling him what this thing meant. He said that he didn't need to get too close. He also asked why 3 gold-level snakes started to surround him. He revealed at the end that none of that meant anything, especially since today, our dear protagonist will be tearing each one of them apart. So, our hero, with his muscles stretched, advanced towards one of the gold-level snakes. Soon the snake, seeing him, ended up recognizing him as that human race, the despicable one. Soon after, he orders the spiritual serpent to kill each and every one of the humans that were around, but it was too late. Our hero ended up advancing. And there he got close, and there he grabbed one of the serpents, but he wasn't done yet. There were some behind him that ended up approaching with their mouths open. He opens his mouth and ends up spraying venom in his direction, since his goal was not only to knock down our hero, but also to send our protagonist to the other world. However, we find our hero's 2 friends who were back there. He won't let that happen. To do so, the 2 advance towards our serpents. Meanwhile, our Xiao Ba ends up leaving his den and ends up growing, and so he could be fighting more easily. Our white fur also does the same. He comes out and starts fighting the serpents. Meanwhile, our little girl starts emanating an aura outwards, and it starts to burn. And so she starts running around, hopping around. Her goal was to eat grilled snake meat. The snakes start screaming for help, as they don't want to be caught by it. Our hero, on the other hand, realizes that it was the fire of Xiao Hong's demonic phoenix, which was simply terrifying. Something that left our protagonist extremely surprised. And her power didn't stop there, as she used that power even higher, and we found a forest on fire. They were already calling for the elder, asking for help. Our hero turns to our old Han and tells him that he will leave everything to him. He agrees. He will do everything possible to end these snakes. Meanwhile, the snakes were there, wondering who they were and why they were here. Our hero reveals that they were the ones who would be taking his life. With a diagonal cut, he ends it, making a cut in this snake. And with that, it was very likely that this snake did not survive, perhaps not for long. Meanwhile, he reveals that he did not even have time to have fun. The opponents were still very weak. But our hero asks our old Han not to let his guard down too much, since this was the heart of the Zeus's territory. Our Xiao Ba ends up saying that with this attack here, he may be feeling like he could reach the gold level at any moment. Our white fur also reveals that he will also be reaching the gold level at any moment, surprising each of the 2 there then. Back there, we then find a guy from our heroes group who turns to them and wonders if, by going there, he will be meeting the main group. He reveals that maybe, but he still has an idea. He wonders what this stupid idea could be. He reveals that he is already in the heart of the Zero race's territory, and no wonder why they do not attack the races directly from here. He turns to them and asks himself, just them? That would be too dangerous. He, who didn't care much, ends up revealing that the fortune was more in danger. And if the fight becomes impossible, it will be the greatest reward you'll have in the end. Maybe you'll get stronger, or maybe you won't, or maybe you'll get lost somewhere. Our hero, who was the captain for today, asks them to listen. Here, they'll rest for the whole night, since the next day they'll be doing something. And since the next day, they'll be marching towards the Fang Mountain Range. The moment he talks about this, the group becomes a little alarmed, since that place, there is the territory of the Wind Leopard tribe. Something that he then ends up commenting that he feels that our old son is becoming more and more convinced after becoming the captain of this group. Already on the second day, he wonders if perhaps this is perhaps a new method. He reveals that it works very well. The great Lord Ziyang has just arrived, so for this they end up wondering why they didn't go out to receive. One of the leopards that was there ends up coming out of his rest and ends up wondering what was going on. Another reveals that he doesn't know. But one of the leopards gets up and ends up wondering if they came here just to die. He approaches our hero and asks him to go there and inform the elder. Since Xiang Xuan has just arrived, one of the leopards steps forward and reveals that they, from the Wind Leopard tribe, have a gigantic hatred against them, the Black Pythons, and for that, today they will be taking revenge. That was their objective. And his group of leopards that were there advances towards our hero. After advancing, we see a fight unfolding there. We see our old Han using his spear to defend himself from one of the leopard's blows. And so he ends up turning to our hero and says that his methods weren't working. He wonders behind him how he would know that he had a grudge against the Black Pythons of hell. But in the worst situations, they should run over each one of them. Then he calls for Xiao Ba and Xiao Bai and asks them to do their job. The two who were there, listening to the order, advance towards the leopards. After advancing, he turns to Xiaohong and ends up commenting that these leopards are very fast, so he will be letting her finish them off. She just agrees. To do so, she activates her pink aura again and then jumps up. From above, she starts attacking several fires towards the leopards that were down there, and one of the leopards that was down there ended up being caught by it. And they were easily knocked down by this simple blow from our Xiaohong. After a long time, our old Han approaches the leopard that was knocked down, since with all this, he can be leveling up. The method he taught did not fail and was very good. After making these celebrations, our hero turns to his system screen, and there he ends up receiving some congratulations from the system for having managed to get his turtle to reach gold level. Our white fur also leveled up to gold level. Xiao Ba, seeing that he has leveled up, ends up roaring a little, and our hero approaches and notices that Xiao Ba has just grown a little more. A holographic screen details the water swan turtle's new stats. Its skills weaken enemy attacks and create an inescapable water barrier. Another screen shows the gilded shadow tiger's abilities. Its speed can be quadrupled, and its attacks now have immense destructive power. The hero smirks proudly beside his magnificent white tiger. He names the beast Little White, declaring it the new master of shadows. His companion approaches, looking utterly baffled. He asks how Subai improved again while he remains stagnant despite his strong faith. Subai looks at his friend, explaining that there's only one reason for his failure. His faith simply isn't resolute enough. Just then, a red-haired girl joins them, asking about their next destination, while Subai studies a map with determination. The young woman points toward a massive, distant mountain city. She reveals it as their final target, the main city of the Mystic Turtles. His companions react with shock, asking if he is serious. They believe the plan is far too crazy to even consider. Lao Hu reminds them that it is a true capital of the myriad races. He warns that even with the war, it is certainly guarded by strong experts. Han Zhan strongly objects, insisting that attacking the main city with just a few people is nothing short of a suicide mission. The other man agrees, adding that if their human identities are exposed, they will not even have a chance to escape. The risk is too great. Subai calmly turns to his hesitant friends. He asks if they have already forgotten their faith and their solemn pursuit of the path. Raising a fist toward the horizon, he proclaims that to get the resources they need to grow stronger, they must go to the main city. He tells them to imagine the moment they finally become kings. They would stand on the Great Wall, revered for their contribution to humanity. His expression becomes fiery. He declares they are fighting for a glorious cause, and even if they perish, it is for something truly great. Inspired by his leader's words, Han Zhan roars with new resolve. He will live and die gloriously for the sake of the human race. Subai agrees, clasping his friend's hand firmly. Lao Hu watches them, surprised at how quickly their spirits were ignited. With the team motivated, the hero instructs the red-haired girl to lead the way. She cheerfully agrees, ready for the journey. As they march toward the distant city, their shared chant echoes through the desolate landscape, a solemn and resolute vow. 3 days pass. The young girl cheerfully asks how much further it is. Subai assures her that they are almost at their destination. She then points ahead, announcing their arrival at the Mystic Turtle main city, leaving her companions stunned by the sight. They gaze upon a colossal fortress looming in the distance. It looks more like a gigantic, imposing mountain than a simple city. As they walk along the path towards it, Han Zhan quietly admits to Subai that he is starting to regret their bold decision. The hero tries to rally their spirits, asking what there is to fear. But his own nervous expression betrays his true feelings. The girl explains that this city is the most magnificent of all. She recalls visiting it once before with the Great Elder. She shows them a map, noting that each of the city's gates is for specific races, and all of them require a toll fee for entry. Subai is shocked to hear about an entry fee. The girl clarifies it is paid with purple spirit stones, a valuable currency. She holds up a glowing crystal, explaining that these stones are not just currency. They also contain vast energy for cultivation. Higher-level cultivators use even more advanced spirit stones, which contain pure elemental power from the heavens and the earth. He pats her head, teasingly asking if she only has one stone. She replies, her pouch is a spatial bag with 100 square meters inside. She casually tips her bag, pouring out a massive pile of purple spirit stones, while admitting she is actually quite wealthy. Her companions are stunned by the fortune before them. They finally realize she cultivates with these stones, calling her a little rich lady. As the gems sparkle around her, one of the men starts to speak to the young girl, who looks up attentively. The hero swoops in with a grin, telling her it is unsafe for a child to carry so much money and offering to hold it as her master. With the pouch in hand, he declares the matter settled, celebrating their new fortune. His companion reminds him it is time to enter the city. The turtle spirit then offers to imbue them with a mystic turtle aura. This 7-day disguise will let them use a side gate and avoid the toll. Now cloaked, the group approaches some local beasts. Subai smirks, confident the plan works after seeing the animals' wary reactions. At the city entrance, Serpentine guards bow respectfully. They welcome the 4 disguised humans back to the main city without suspicion. Safely inside, the hero comments on their grand entrance. His companion confirms they should head straight for the main castle. Subai looks around in awe at the sight of powerful beasts walking freely everywhere, amazed by the city's atmosphere. Above them, the sky is filled with dragons and other winged creatures soaring between the towering city spires. Walking through the crowded streets, Han Zhan expresses his shock at seeing so many different beasts within the city walls. His friend notes their strength, saying the myriad races are stronger than they thought. They agree human warriors would be outmatched. The girl explains that the elite races control the others. The vast enemy army is mostly cannon fodder, not true elites. Understanding dawns on Subai. Seeing how lively the city is, he suggests they take some time to explore the area. Suddenly, the turtle spirit sends a message to its master. It reports finding something interesting about 10 kilometers to the southwest. The hero turns to his friends, suggesting they split up since moving together is inefficient. Lao Hu agrees, wanting to find a place with ancient records. He then offers each of them a single purple crystal for expenses. His companions complain about his stinginess, knowing he holds the entire bag. The leader tells them not to thank him as he walks away with the girl. Watching them go, his friends call him a cheapskate. Meanwhile, Lao Hu asks his friend to join him in searching for archives. The other man declines, deciding to check out the city's armor shops instead. Following the spirit's directions, Subai and the girl arrive at a large empty plaza. He confirms this is the location he was looking for. A smirk forms on his face as he scans the area. He wonders what kind of interesting things he might find in this place. Now what's really in there? And our story today will continue where it left off. Here we find our protagonist doing well. Until then, he'd noticed some future things there. And we also realized that this was the main warehouse, but the walls for some reason weren't that high. Even he could jump, when she ends up pointing upward and asking them to look around a bit. Up above, we find a griffin-like dragon, flying but with an aura surrounding it. He realized this monster was going to attack, but it suddenly stops. But now that he's stopped, he realizes he's seen this symbol somewhere before. He thinks he's read about it in some old books in the library. Pausing for a moment, he finally remembers. He realizes this was a celestial confinement barrier, and it seems the tribe buried underground is truly skilled, since with this barrier here, not even a gemstone could pass through the walls undetected. To do so, he turns to her and wonders who exactly the guardian of this barrier is. Before she can reveal anything, she announces that something is approaching. They should hide first. Meanwhile, the serpents are changing shifts. Another asks the other if she found anything unusual. Another says no. For her, it was just a normal day, or maybe not, right? Unaware that our protagonist is hiding behind there. Before she can continue, our protagonist returns to Xiao Yong, who asks her to wait. She, who didn't want to get involved, agrees, as our protagonist wants to test out a new talent of his. Thus, he becomes somewhat invisible in front of her. Becoming invisible in front of her, she is surprised and ends up screaming, but our protagonist asks her to tone it down a bit. Thus, he continues with his plans. With his plans, he begins following a serpent who had a high status. Thus, he passes some guards. She asks him to close the doors tightly as soon as she enters. Unaware that our protagonist is behind her, he follows her without a second thought. And with zero difficulty, our protagonist, along with this snake, ends up entering inside. And the moment he enters, the doors close. And so our protagonist can continue with his plans. He strikes the back of its neck, causing the snake to fall to the ground. After all this, he realizes that his camouflage was quite useful. His goal was simply to get inside to try to discover what useful treasure lay within the castle. He continues on and finds a room full of purple crystals. And now, if our protagonist were to get these crystals, our hero would be rich forever, and no one could stop him from getting this thing, since he can get rich alone. Or so he thought, because when he turns to the side, at an exit there, he sees 2 quick steps of some things. He realizes something unusual is happening. He even thinks that maybe it's some people from those snake tribes. To do this, he asks whoever is hiding to come forward immediately. The 2, who were also trying to get our hero's treasure, recognize the voice. So they appear. Those people were our protagonist's friends, who shared our hero's objective. Seeing them, they are surprised to see that they've also appeared here. He ends up wondering why they were here. To him, perhaps this was all just a coincidence. To get in, they both even donned nighttime infiltration gear. Entering here, we see that our hero is even more surprised to see that they managed to get in here without being noticed by the guards. He reveals that he was wandering around and ended up finding the secret passage. The other one, on the other hand, was also wandering around and ended up entering here by accident. Not wanting to waste time, our protagonist still wanted to continue with his plans, since his main plan is to get everything inside without anyone noticing. So he turns to his two friends for help in capturing some items from inside, as his goal is to get everything inside without making a sound. They agree. Then out of nowhere, one of our protagonist's friends bumps into a bell that was sitting on the edge of the table, and it falls to the floor, drawing everyone's attention. We see that our hero has finally realized they've disrupted his plans. One of the guards enters and finds the snake from before, lying on the floor. He asks them to announce that intruders have entered his territory. To prevent escape, he asks them to raise the barrier. Before he can continue, our protagonist appears in the background, his hand outstretched. He uses his telekinetic ability. It then heads toward one of the snakes nearby, thinking about advancing. Both are caught, and with that, our protagonist's group manages to escape. One of the most important and strongest serpents noticed they'd escaped. So he asked for an order to isolate the entire towns, as their goal now was to find these invaders, and to do so, they were supposed to be searching house by house. She then realized that they'd now been noticed, and must be hiding very well, so he turns to old Seuss, and realizes that they've now gotten themselves into quite a mess. The whole town was now looking for him, but the other says he was fine, since no one would be finding them here. Our protagonist says the same thing, which even has a saying for it: the most dangerous place is the safest place. The two then turn to him, and don't understand a thing he was saying. And so we return to her. She comments to the serpents that she needs to find the humans, and it seems she's found one there. She points in their faces in the direction, and at that moment, she follows the order, but they don't even see any humans. However, some things appear before them, and they don't even see them. And thanks to this, our protagonist and his group manage to take down 3 snakes at once. Now knocked down, he turns to old Ran and asks him to take care of the bodies. They agree. Xiao Hang goes to an entrance first. Before he can continue, Xiao Hang, who turns to our hero, wonders what he was trying to find. He reveals that, before they could leave here, he sensed treasure nearby. Since logically, if it were just to store a few treasures, there would be no need to create such a secure barrier. She yells for him to come here, as she found a secret passage, a secret door, and this ends up surprising him a bit, as our hero got closer and found nothing there. Then she reveals that the secret door has some kind of special spell. The human race can't see this thing. To this end, he realizes that the cunning serpent Xuan Han from hell was clever, and it's no wonder he hadn't noticed anything like this before entering that other warehouse. Before he could continue, she reveals that there was a very strong energy down there. Curious about this, they should be going down there to try to find out what it was. They do, but as they descend, they are surprised by something. This thing there is the 1,000-wish tree. He then turns around and wonders what kind of tree it is, since it looks so evil. Before he can continue, she reveals that it is a forbidden art. She at this point becomes irritated with this serpent clan. Another, with another doubt, wonders if perhaps they want to become a 4th royal clan. Looking at the name of the 1,000-wish tree, he seems to have heard it somewhere. Then, before he could continue, our system screen appeared in front of him, detecting a remaining branch of the ancient divine tree, which contained the power of countless fragment laws. The system urged him not to miss this opportunity under any circumstances, but cultivating the 10,000 wishes tree requires at least 10 million snake lives. While discussing this, our protagonist turned to her and asked what this meant. She revealed that it was an 8th grade spiritual fruit, and each 10,000 wishes fruit contained an extremely terrifying energy. She could help. She might be helping a lord-level warrior increase their bloodline concentration. When the bloodline concentration reached a certain level, countless beings of the same species had to be slaughtered, as this is the cultivation method of the 10,000 wishes, and was classified as a forbidden art by the 3 royal clans. To him, this might be a minor disturbance, but he should let it go, because in any case, he couldn't leave this tree here. He advances, and approaching the tree, goes there and places his hand. Then he says he's ready to begin. So he begins to activate the divinity of this tree. And as soon as he does, we see that the tree begins to glow, and then begins to expand, wanting to explode. Then he realizes that this is a spatial rift. Then he realizes that perhaps this is what the system calls a small fear. But we see that she was frightened, and she realizes that he did something there, since space was trying to collapse here with them. Staying here was very dangerous, so they must get out of here, otherwise they will be trapped here forever in this rift. She keeps begging them to at least get out of here as quickly as possible, but an explosion happens. But that explosion would swallow them all, and before it can swallow them, our hero uses Zhuan Huang's barrier to protect them right there. And even using his barrier, he realizes that it will collapse. Then he arrives, shouting to Zhuan Huang to lower herself a little. As soon as he says this, we see that thing begin to rapidly merge with the fruit he held earlier, and it was expanding more and more inside. Its goal was to suck the entire tree into a dimension, so that all the evil that had happened here would disappear. After a while, it finally happened. The glow of the red tree disappeared, leaving only a golden glow on the fruit floating in the air in front of them. And with that, they were most likely safe for now. She turns to her master and realizes that he had succeeded, since he had indeed managed to transplant the tree of 10,000 wishes. And over there we see the treasures and other valuables that Sube had collected earlier. Everything finally worked out. However, there were still some things trembling there. And not only that, but it seemed like the tree was sucking up all her treasures, and he's more than irritated by this. He even starts kicking the tree, wanting it to spit everything out, right? But she was asking her master to be careful and get out of there as quickly as possible, since the tree of 10,000 wishes looked like it wanted to explode. Well, it didn't, just like here it ends up exploding, and so the scene cuts back to the gate. Back at the beginning, we see that the guy saw a light shining up into the sky. He turns to his Naya King and wonders if he noticed it too. This energy was so strong that it seemed to transcend the laws themselves, and it came from the heart of the 10,000 races territory. An existence even more powerful than the King of the Nine Hells had just awakened, and he doesn't understand, since he was saying that existence transcends the king level. Unaware of what was happening, he asks him to find some trace of what this thing could be. He eventually agrees and leaves, but our scene shifts to the territory of the 10,000 races. She, the fox, was floating, and she couldn't believe it. How could she see it? How could a divine-level power exist? How could this be possible, since the Forbidden Land hasn't been breached yet? How could there be an emanation of divine power? And to make matters worse, why would such a terrifying power appear within the main city of Dazang? She asks him to send someone to investigate. They agree. In the royal city of the Nine Hells, he noticed it. This energy was terrifying. What was happening? And to make matters worse, why would such a terrifying aura appear within the city of Dazang? One of the guards appeared there. He turns to him and wonders what was happening. He reveals that nothing, since he didn't know. He'll be going there to find out everything, and will be back shortly. Meanwhile, in the forbidden area of the Green Lake, deep within, we find a glow. Meanwhile, elsewhere, in the forbidden land of the Sword Clan, we only find several lightning strikes. Meanwhile, in the forbidden land of the Heavenly Fall River, we find some mummified objects, and in the forbidden land of the 10,000 races, we find some glows emanating from, let's say, a planet. Meanwhile, this suggests that it won't be long before they might be reappearing in the human world. And on the battlefield of the 10,000 races, they look there, in the direction of that same glow from before, and realize something unusual is happening. They can't believe it, as they saw a gigantic earthquake, and it seemed like it was coming from the direction of the main city. Another simply wonders about the tree of 10,000 wishes. He reveals to himself that if the 3 royal clans discover this, that he used a forbidden technique to cultivate the tree of 10,000 wishes, he will truly be finished. And to this end, he ends up retreating. His army down there doesn't understand anything about what's happening. Now it seems they can no longer handle the situation they've gotten themselves into. With no way out, they have only one goal: to retreat, since they can no longer attack humanity. In total chaos, we see the human army advancing toward the beasts. They consider running to escape, but another tells them to run away and get to safety. Meanwhile, we return to our hero. He wakes up and doesn't understand what's happening. The entire place has been destroyed, and he realizes he caused it all. Other monsters advance toward him, and we realize they're angry that our hero has touched their clan's sacred tree, and for having done so, they won't let it go unpunished. They'll be attacking our hero with all their might, and besides, they have nothing else to do. Their goal was to take down our protagonist anyway. So he points, and so do they, along with the other serpent behind him, point their swords at our hero. As soon as he points the sword, they end up firing a slash, intending to send our protagonist to another world, perhaps even while he's already there. But it comes close to our hero. His eyes widen as he sees the slash approaching him, and the story begins with him now summoning a golden hexagonal shield, preparing for a powerful attack. He retaliates instantly, punching the ground with his fist and sending a massive shockwave of earth and rock forward. Elsewhere, a fanged villain fires a beam of pink energy from her mouth as a warrior in purple prepares to fight. A man in a blue shirt climbs a cliff, imagining the sudden energy fluctuation and suspecting his friend is involved. The young man in yellow looks shocked, realizing his companions have also advanced to gold rank. His friend in the purple suit tells him to run, vowing to contain the approaching adversary. The villain moves with incredible speed, her pink energy easily overwhelming the warrior's defense. He is thrown back with a cut to the chest. His opponent mockingly asks if he thought his armor would protect him. His friends rush to his side, asking if he can still fight. The wounded warrior insists they escape while he holds the line. One of his companions calls him a ruthless man for his bravery, then tells the other to retreat as they both break into a run. The warrior in purple glares at him with determination, ready to unleash his ultimate blade technique. He unleashes a flurry of purple blows, but the villain dismisses his attack as a petty trick. With a final scream, he hurls his glowing purple spear directly at his enemy. He then immediately turns and runs, shouting for his friends to wait. One of them tells him to eat a spirit fruit. The villain roars in frustration, vowing that her prey will not escape her grasp today. The 3 friends use their abilities to flee, glowing with yellow, purple, and blue energy as they soar through the air. They become streaks of light racing across the desolate landscape, with a menacing pink trail in hot pursuit. The female villain is stunned by their velocity, wondering how gold-rank warriors can possibly move so quickly. After a 3-hour chase, she stands on a cliff with a companion, annoyed that the humans are so good at running. She asks her companion for confirmation of their path, noting that they are entering the forbidden Luatian River. She dismisses the danger of the forbidden zone, declaring that they must capture the 3 humans no matter what. Meanwhile, the trio rests behind some rocks, wondering why their pursuers are so desperate to get the saint tree. The young man in yellow says it's a long story, urging them to restore their energy quickly so they can escape. But their rest is cut short as a massive creature lands before them, declaring that they are not going anywhere. This new enemy, the 10th Elder, complains about having to step in personally because his subordinates failed to catch them. The warrior in purple steps forward, telling his friends to leave while demanding the elder return his clan's sacred tree. The elder transforms into a colossal serpent, promising to grant them a swift and painless end. The serpent lashes out with its tail, violently striking the purple-clad warrior and sending him flying. Enraged, the young man in yellow says that such an evil item should not be called a saint tree, and he will take it. The serpent monster looks down on them with contempt, mockingly asking how long they think they can possibly hold out. The warrior in purple hands over the spirit fruit, telling his friend to take their companion and leave this to him. He eats a piece of the fruit himself, shouting that one sacrifice is better than losing everyone for humanity's sake. His friends look back with worried expressions, hesitant to abandon their comrade. Glowing with purple energy, the warrior screams at them to run. His friend promises they will wait for him up ahead. As the two begin to flee, the massive serpent lunges at them, intent on preventing their escape. But their friend intercepts, striking the beast with his spear and declaring himself to be its true opponent. The serpent smashes into the ground where he stood, but the warrior leaps away just in time to dodge the blow. He is quickly knocked to the ground. The beast looms over him, calling him a weak human whose life is less than an insect's. The massive serpent turns its head, sensing that the fight is somehow not over yet. Despite his injuries, the warrior glares defiantly, shouting that he is the one it must face. In a burst of desperate energy, he jumps onto the serpent's giant back, catching the creature by surprise. The monster begins to thrash its body violently, trying to shake the reckless human off. The force of the movement is brutal, and the warrior coughs up blood from the powerful impacts. He is slammed hard against the creature's tough scales, taking severe damage from the attack. With its eyes glowing intensely, the serpent roars that it has no more time to waste on him. Golden energy snakes erupt from the ground, coiling around the injured warrior as he grits his teeth in defiance. The ethereal serpents swarm him completely, their glowing forms tightening around the struggling man. A distant cry echoes across the sky, leaving the warrior's fate unknown as the scene shifts. His two friends arrive at the edge of a vast, tranquil lake, recognizing it as the legendary Bishui Lake. The young man wonders why the area is so peaceful, while his companion worries that their pursuers still haven't shown up. Meanwhile, at the outskirts of the Forbidden Land, the female villain also finds the silence strange, as this place is usually hostile. She insists they must retrieve their saint tree, deciding to test the waters. Her companion agrees to retreat if danger arises. With their decision made, the two villains cautiously step forward into the forbidden territory. Suddenly, a colossal shadow dragon wreathed in lightning emerges, its powerful presence filling the sky. The two intruders are frozen in shock, staring up at the terrifying beast that has just appeared. The female villain quickly identifies the creature as the Azure Dragon and screams for her group to retreat at once. Deep within the forbidden area, the two friends relax with a small girl and a cat. One asks how his friend can be so calm. The young man calmly explains that this place is a forbidden land for their enemies, so they will not dare to follow. His companion agrees they cannot stay forever and suggests they return to the mountains to find their main forces. The youth counters that their pursuers will have gone back to defend their home, making a return trip a direct trap. His eyes widen as a sudden, audacious idea flashes through his mind. He grins, suggesting they return to the enemy's territory for a surprise attack, much to his friend's disbelief. His companion calls him crazy, reminding him that going back means facing even stronger platinum-level pursuers. The young man explains they will not retrace their steps but will take a detour, though his friend doubts he knows the way. He stands confidently, adding they can also find their friend. He tells his companion to trust him and follow his lead. As they prepare to leave, the small girl sitting on a turtle calls out, telling the foodies to get a move on. While running, the youth explains he noticed a problem with their strategy during their previous battles. He elaborates that they should focus all their energy on increasing their own speed while slowing down their enemies. His friend agrees with this logic, acknowledging the power gap between gold and platinum ranks is too large to fight directly. Suddenly, the young man senses movement in the forest, warning his companion to be careful and pick up the pace. They quickly hide among the trees and spot their captured friend, realizing they cannot charge in recklessly. Their companion is bound and led by a beastman guard, who taunts him that no one will come to his rescue. Watching from the bushes, the young man knows a direct approach is too risky, and they need a foolproof plan. A sly grin spreads across his face as a familiar idea forms. His friend warily asks what he is thinking of now. Meanwhile, the captured warrior gets whipped but remains defiant. The guard, angered by his resilience, prepares to strike again. Just as the Beastman guard raises his whip to strike again, a voice from the woods commands him to stop. Two mysterious figures in dark cloaks emerge. The guard explains he is escorting a human prisoner on the 10th Elder's orders. The captured warrior recognizes one of the cloaked figures, his face lighting up as he begins to speak. Before he can say a name, the cloaked youth smacks him, telling the supposedly dangerous human to stay quiet. The hero, still in disguise, explains they are envoys sent by the 10th Elder to supervise the escort and collect supplies. The guard is confused, stating the military rations were already handed over. The cloaked figure retorts that more are needed. The disguised youth asks if the guard is questioning the order. The beast man quickly apologizes and says he wouldn't dare. The cloaked figure then commands the guard to lead the way, and the flustered beast man immediately obeys. Their journey takes them to the territory of the Yuling Cat clan, a settlement built within a massive ancient tree. At the entrance, the disguised hero says he will interrogate the human and tells the guard to summon their elder. An elderly cat person emerges, apologizing for not greeting the envoys sooner. The hero dismisses the formalities. The elder questions the request, explaining they just sent a shipment 10 days ago. The hero insists the war effort demands more. He delivers a rousing speech about how every clan is sacrificing everything, sending even their weakest to fight on the front lines. He leans in close, his voice low and threatening, asking if the cat clan is unwilling to contribute its share. The cat clan elder seems moved by the speech. He agrees and offers 10,000 low-grade spirit materials from their inventory. The disguised envoy promises to report their good deeds. Meanwhile, his companions watch, thinking their leader is a master manipulator. The Cat Clan elder respectfully invites the disguised group to follow him into the clan's storage area, and the young man agrees. Inside the storage cave, the elder explains that he has also prepared some spirit stones for them as a special gift. The hero smiles faintly, promising to report their generous contribution to the great king, and the elder thanks him profusely. He then dismisses the elder, stating he needs to interrogate the prisoner alone. The cat person obliges and leaves the cave. Once they are alone, the captured warrior asks to be untied, complaining that they could have easily defeated the Cat Clan. His leader gestures to the crates of fruit, explaining that diplomacy yielded resources for his recovery, which a fight would not have. As his friend is being untied, the young man suddenly asks if anyone else feels that something is wrong with this cave. He holds up his hand, explaining that he can feel his energy draining away, as if something is slowly absorbing it. His two companions also notice their auras flickering, confirming that their own energy is mysteriously dissipating. They realize the energy drain is real. The trio turns their attention toward the dark, deeper part of the storage cave. This explains why the elder left so confidently. Concluding there is a trap, they decide to venture further in to investigate. Deeper inside, they find motionless cat-like statues, all facing a strange, shimmering barrier at the chamber's far end. Beyond the barrier lies the enormous skeleton of a cat-like beast, filling the three friends with awe and suspicion. What truly puzzles them is the statue of a human knight with a greatsword, standing proud